Sometimes we can become so absorbed in building our own coaching businesses that we fail to pay attention to the strengths in ourselves that can move us forward, or worse, overly focus on negatives in our past that keep us stuck and hold us back from achieving the success we deserve. My guest today has overcome a very difficult past and leveraged her strengths to launch an incredibly successful coaching business. Stay tuned for a very special episode of the High Income Coaching Podcast. Welcome to all my Coaching Connector friends. This is Jim McCraigh. Are you realizing your full potential as a coach? Are you using all of your gifts to change the lives of others? Or do you feel stuck and blocked? My guest has overcome incredible obstacles to get where she is today. Catherine B. Roy is the founder of the Live From Your Heart and Mind community. Her uplifting work has assisted countless individuals across the world, helping to solve problems and infuse their lives with hope, energy, and success. She is the author of a book by the same name, which hit the bestseller list on the day of its release. As a successful speaker and personal growth coach, Catherine's writings have been published in numerous publications, including the Huffington Post and the Wellness Universe. She has been a featured speaker at numerous international conferences. Catherine, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Jim. It's a pleasure.
You told me a story when we first met about how you got to where you are and the incredible obstacles that you had overcome from very difficult beginnings as a young girl. Would you be willing to share that with our listeners?
Yes, Jim. Well, my life wasn't like it is now. I had a lot of struggles, and I grew up in a family which was dysfunctional, and a lot of domestic violence was included, as well as bullying in the school, because I was very silent girl, afraid of everything. And I lived in that environment almost 19 years. But I was lucky enough to be chosen like a gifted girl to go to scientific center when I was in high school. And I was working with college professors. I was only 15 years, and I actually published my first scientific work when I was 17. They infused me with hope and strength, and I was involved a lot in linguistical and psychological researches. So I kind of found myself in different environment and realized that I can actually change my life. And while I was thinking that, imagining my future, I woke up one day. I lived in Yugoslavia back then, and there was a war, civil war going, and all that just dropped off because I woke up in the basement with no food, no water, no electricity. I was 17 years old, and I didn't know if I will live tomorrow. It's very hard for me to speak about that because it brings up a lot of memories and emotions, but you grow up very fast because you realize there is someone deciding for you and you can't do anything about that. So all you have is actually your mind. And if you allow your mind to go wild, then things will not go so well. So I was trying to calm myself and my little brother all the time, that time of difficulties, and bombs were falling all over the place. So you can only pray for tomorrow, and that's it. And when you face that, then everything else in life which comes later, if it comes, it's just not so important, So that was over, and we woke up one day and they pronounced that the war is over and we were ready to start a new life, but we didn't know where to start. I went to college. I finished it very fast, actually, and I started to work in one huge international company, which I adored. I was very successful. I was actually at the top of company very, very young. I was just 24 years old. And I was thinking that I now at that moment have everything in my life. And I had good salary. I had all material things which I didn't have before. I was, I thought I was fulfilled, but I started to feel very weak and I didn't have strength. And I went to doctor. They actually diagnosed a high level of Coxsackie virus in my blood, but so high that it attacked my heart, which because of the infection couldn't work well, and it was stopping like 10,000 times per day. So I again was in front of the wall and I was down. I actually was very depressed because doctors told me I might live just maybe a year and a half. So I didn't know what to do. I was very scientific person. I was very business oriented person, and I didn't know anything about alternative medicine or spirituality or inner growth or whatever. But my mom is different, so she convinced me that we should go to monastery on Adriatic Sea and spend some time there. I went to monastery and we were sleeping outside. I think I never said this story in public. So we were sleeping outside and I was dreaming like some kind of light woke me up. And I heard information that we should move because it's going to be a storm. And that place is very well known for healing and healing energy. People go there when they need to heal. So those kind of things are actually very known there, but I never experienced that. I woke up, I started to wake up everyone else that we should move. And because it was a very clear sky, they were looking at me very strange. But I was persistent and I insisted that we should move and move. So all of us did. And as soon as we entered the room, Jim, it wasn't like a minute or two. It was so strong storm outside, and I was in shock. And all of those people were just looking at me, and I just had my first spiritual experience. And now when I talk and remember all that, I was afraid. I had no idea what happened. Later we went to pray, and I remember like it was yesterday, when you enter the room, 5 people usually can enter the room, but a monk said that they should stay outside, and he invited only me inside. You couldn't see from my outside that I'm sick, but he said that only I should go in. So I did, and he put a palm on my head, and he said to me exactly these words: everything is going to be fine. You are not going anywhere. We need you. And I started to cry, and I was crying and crying, and I was looking at him, and he just said, "It's okay. That's emotional recharge." So I was completely confused, Jim. I didn't know what's going on, what is happening to me. We went back home. I went to hospital. They did all examinations and everything was fine. I wasn't sick anymore. So from that moment, I realized there is something which we can't explain. As a scientific person, I always was searching for explanations. But from that moment, I understood there is something greater than us. And if we can somehow get in alignment with that force and that energy, and actually allow ourselves to listen, maybe we would not go through so hard experiences like I did, because obviously something needed to hit me in my head to wake me up. I was living not so connected to myself, and I started to write my book that day 10 years ago. But I had no idea what to write. I was not a writer, and I was writing sentence by sentence when it comes to me, I just had a feeling that I should do that. And then again, everything was fine. This is not the end. Everything was fine. And one day we went to doctor again because they told us we can't have a baby. And everything I ever wanted is to be a mom. So I was in front of another wall and I couldn't hold on anymore. It was too much. And I was actually thinking about giving up, but giving up on my life because I didn't see anymore, why should I be here at all? But again, my mom came and we just did the same like it was first time. Just this time we went to Greece, to the Tassos Island, and to one monastery which is there, again, very famous for healing. And I had 2 IVFs, I had 6 operations, I was 10 times under total anesthesia, which is actually very risky for my heart. But I really wanted to be a mom and I accepted all that. And it didn't work. So I gave up and we again went to the first place where I was when I was sick. And now I am a mom. My son has 2 years and 2 months. His name is Alexander. And actually he came naturally. During that process, I wish just to say this little detail, very important. I was doing meditations. There was a meditational challenge with Oprah and Deepak. And I started to receive a lot of information. And that's my book. I didn't invented that, it just came. That's kind of my story.
Well, that is one amazing story. So you could have done a lot of things, Catherine. What inspired you to start your own business?
Well, actually, I didn't plan that. I will be honest. I was doing very good in corporate life. But when I finished my book, I actually was guided by my editor, who told me that my writing is kind of different and I should try to publish my articles on McGill Media, Simple Reminders, and Huffington Post. And I didn't expect anything, to be honest, but I did publish there, and they accepted my work. So Brian McGill, who is the founder of Simple Reminders and McGill Media, who is actually New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestselling author, invited me to come to his Thought Leadership School. And he became my mentor. So my book became a bestseller on its release day when it was published. And actually in 3 days, it was #1 in 8 categories on Amazon, even in front of Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. And people started to ask me a lot of questions because my book is about system for emotional and intellectual development. I created a system which will actually transform our inner self and heal our emotions, in the same time solve our problems and obstacles like I did in my life. And I created algorithms to help people to discover what is the best for them, because if I give advice as a coach, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for everyone. But if I guide them through the algorithms and they get the answers, that might work very well. And on the other side, I'm working on increasing intellectual potential because I'm a MENSA member and I was involved in a lot of researches for intellectual development. So the aim of the system is to increase emotional and intellectual potential so we can operate from the highest level. I just used my system and I wanted to try to put it in the work, so I started my own business to see how is that going to work. And that's it. I just needed my space, and in just 3 years I developed something that people at least say very, very successful.
You wrote once that we are all the product of our past and at the same time, the cause of our future. Can you expand on that? For somebody that's listening that might feel like that I'm just stuck in some place and I want to move forward, but I don't know how.
Yes, actually, everything that happened to us before is past, right? And in this moment, we are the product of everything that happened. Our experiences, our relationships with other people, our successes and failures, they affected us somehow. And this is who we are now. But that doesn't mean that past should still affect us. Because if I think of my past and if I allow it to affect me in this moment, I wouldn't go anywhere. So we need to cherish this present moment because that's everything we have. Everything is very temporary and everything is very relative. And we should understand that this moment is only in existence. And the action or decision I made in now, that is going to affect my future and nothing will change the past. So, okay, my past was as it was. I'm now who I am, but I will create my future. And that's what I'm doing with my business.
You have an incredible social media presence. You have over 200,000 followers. How did you make that happen?
Well, actually, it happened because when I stepped into the thought leadership school, there were 100 other thought leaders. And yes, I didn't have any online presence, and I went to thought leadership school, and there were 100 of us. So actually, we were learning from Brian McGill about online presence and expert positioning, and other successful online business developers also were in the school. So yes, I learned strategies about positioning myself as an expert online and using social media for expansion. So nothing happens like that overnight, and we need to be persistent and to build that. But we also need one very important thing, and that's our community and people who support us. Because if we work alone, nothing big will happen. But if we have supporters and we have a community and we build our audience, then we can make magic.
That's interesting that you would mention that. I totally agree with what you're saying. So what you're trying to communicate, I think, is the fact that partnering with others is really the way to get to where you want to go much faster.
That's essential. Yes, that's essential because only that way we can grow. Actually, I'm a web developer, so I understand social media and websites differently because I know what's happening behind the screen in the code. And if we communicate online more and if we partner with other people more, then algorithms recognize us as little networks. And those networks are just coming out much more than if we are individuals, because social networks have their goal, and that's to make money over social media. So they will support those who show up more. That's the core of the online presence.
Is there a particular trait you feel that a coach needs to have to be really successful? When you look around, when you coach people yourself, do you find that there's one thing, or is it multiple things that makes somebody have that drive for success like you do?
Well, actually, I believe that our heart knows what is the best way for us. We definitely first must acknowledge our purpose. And we will discover our purpose if we understand what we like to do, what we are good at, and what we can do successfully. So when we put those three things together, only the thing that is in the middle of all three components is our purpose. And if we allow our heart to lead us towards that purpose, if that is helping people achieving business success or life coaching or just being a good mom who is trying to make some money aside from online business, never mind, we are all in that together. So heart will lead us toward our purpose, but mind is just like a tool for us to come to that place. We need to acknowledge the power of both sides. We can't be just business people, because if we know how to do things and we will do that successfully, I'm sure some part of our life will just broke. And that's not balance. Balance is the most important thing of all, and people's heart. If we can touch people's heart, that's limitless. Because if we just make money, that's what we do. But if we can affect people, solve their needs, solve their problems, and help them, then we have gratitude from their side and we grow with them. And that doesn't have limit at all.
Catherine, you're working on a new project, something that you are looking forward to releasing soon?
Yes, Jim. Yes, I've got a lot of questions from my clients, and I couldn't actually answer them all, to be honest, or coach them all. So I decided to build an online learning platform which will help business owners, coaches, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, authors to establish a high quality online presence, to set their vision and mindset and inner self ready to grow, and to learn them everything they need to know about online world, about business strategies and marketing and autopilot sales systems, so they can actually live more freely, have more time, and just set up some things to be automatic, so they can have success in passive income and impact while they are actually creating something else. That's called LGM Academia, and we actually had pre-launch and we enrolled 167 people in just 5 days.
So where would someone find that online?
The website is called lgmacademia.com.
And I will put that in the show notes. Catherine, this has been wonderful. And I thank you so much for coming on today. You've shared some incredible things. And I just really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your sharing like you have. I think that you touched people in my audience.
Thank you so much, Jim. I hope they will find inspiration in my story. And anytime they feel like in trouble, just remember me, because you can go over that and everything will be just fine.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I'm your host, Jim McCraigh. Please join us next time on High Income Coaching Podcast.